What's good? It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Bo Brock, our playmaker, Greg Dortch, live in studio. And of course, we got to have our guy, the GM, Saul Bookman, on location as well. Fresh off of PHNX Suns podcast. Johnny Venerable will be joining us in a little bit. But first and foremost, Greg, congratulations. Another roster made. I know most of our audience, everybody was like, yeah, of course, G. Dortch has got to make the squad. But for yourself, you're just sent to this position. You don't take that for granted, I bet.
Absolutely not. It's crazy because this time of the year, it's just crazy. Like for the past 3 years of my life, I got released and cut at this exact same time of the year. So naturally, I felt like my body was like, and my mind was just so used to being in this down state. And for the past 2 years, I've made the roster. So it's just like, it's a blessing. I'm really blessed, and I don't take it for granted because I know what it's like to not have it.
Was the grind any different this offseason compared to years prior?
No, I feel like the grind has always been the same, if not better. Because once you get to this level, like everybody's good, but what makes you stand out? You know what I'm saying? So you gotta kind of set yourself apart, and I don't know. That's how you get chances. That's how you get opportunities, and when your opportunities come, you take advantage.
How was it just watching the last 24, 36 hours transpire, and you could kind of relax? Like the other people had to go through it, and you've been there before. Certainly, just took us through it. But how was it to maybe say, hey, I don't have to pay attention to my phone. I don't have to think about, what the future is going to bring in the next couple hours.
I don't feel like I had that feeling.
Yeah.
I just told you, like the past 3 years before that, I always got the call.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was thinking I'm going to get the call. Like I'm just used to getting the call. And it's crazy because I'm so used to it that when it didn't happen, it was like I didn't know how to react. Like I'm excited that I made the 53-man roster, but it just hasn't hit me yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's a blessing. Like I'm really blessed. Like for real.
Well, we'll go from one blessing to one other one that's not. How awful is Minnesota?
Oh, man.
Minnesota was actually really nice. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, Minnesota was cool.
Really?
Yeah, it was cool.
Was it humid as hell though, right?
Huh?
What do you not like about Minnesota?
I've never been there. I just assume I would hate it. It's really humid though, right?
Yeah, it was humid. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. It doesn't get that humid, but it was humid. I feel like it was humid. Yeah, that's really all you can say. This heat compared to that was totally different. So
yeah, okay.
I mean, what was that experience like? We watched from afar as far as what went down in those joint practices. Mm-hmm. They looked intense.
Yeah, it was fun. They're a great, well-coached team. So are we. Mm-hmm. It was fun. Like I feel like they beat us last year, so we had a little something coming in. We wanted to prove to them that we were ready. But it was fun. That's all I can say. It was competition. It was really fun.
You told everybody when you joined Johnny and myself the last time, you're like, Keytrell is a dog. Mm-hmm. And then he goes out there and he kind of put the locks on 18 for at least one play.
Mm-hmm. I seen that too. He's a hard worker. And his mentality sets him apart from everybody else. Just his approach, how he approaches the game. And he's a competitor. Yeah. And he's from Richmond, Virginia, and that's where I'm from, and we're competitors. And man, I'm proud of him, and I know he has a lot. He has a lot in store for everybody.
You got a lot of teammates. A couple of them were on the fringes of making the roster, not making the roster, so on and so forth. Who's that one guy on the roster that you looked at, you're kind of proud of? Like, yeah, man, you did it. You know what I mean?
All of them, really. But one guy I would say is Blake Whiteheart. He's a tight end. He went to Wake Forest. He was there when I was there, and like just to see the work that he's put in, and like I think he made the 53-man roster. Blake Whiteheart, if I'm not mistaken.
He did.
Yeah. Shout out to him. I told him that today. Shout out to him.
That's dope.
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, obviously a ton of movement. You guys have potentially a new starting quarterback, Joshua Dobbs. Mm-hmm. Today, Zach Ertz was put on the spot. He's like, he's a smart guy. He's an astronaut or something. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what Dobbs is what he actually is?
So I heard that today. I think I seen it on Twitter. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really look into it, but he's a pro. Like he really approaches the game like he's a professional. And I think we're gonna be in good hands when he's at quarterback.
Aerospace engineer. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's big brain stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What did you like from his ball today?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I told you, anytime a quarterback's throwing me the ball, I'm loving it. I have no complaints.
He's talkative. He's pretty.
As a quarterback, I feel like you have to be kind of vocal. I mean, even if you don't want to, you just have to.
Yeah. There's not a lot of quarterbacks doing TikToks like that though.
I
Like
haven't
breaking it
seen
down. Oh yeah, he breaks it down.
Really?
He does.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
day he
good
got
stuff,
traded,
man.
That's
he
funny.
walked everybody through exactly
For
how
real?
it goes down when you get traded, what
Oh,
do you
that's
got
hard.
prepared
That's
for, and all
hard.
that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's
haven't
pretty
seen
dope.
that.
It was like 90 seconds. He was like,
Mhm.
all right, next 24 hours. Here's how I'm packing.
Yeah,
Here's
but
how,
it's did you listen? It's crazy though. Like that whole situation is crazy. Getting released or traded is just crazy.
right.
Yeah, you're on a flight that night. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any clothes for real. You have to practice with the team, new playbook, new surroundings.
Mhm.
It's just everything's brand new. And so like he plays quarterback. That's the hardest position in the NFL.
I think that's why a lot of people are like, what's going on here? You're bringing this guy in,
Mhm.
post preseason, basically. He didn't travel to Minnesota after Cleveland, came straight here. It's like this guy's really contending to be the starting quarterback on this team, but he's got a relationship with Drew Petzing, your offensive coordinator. He's got a relationship with Izzy, your quarterback's coach. And I'm sure mostly the biggest hurdle he's got now is just developing a rapport with you and the receivers, right?
For sure. And I think that comes with time. I think we're gonna put the time in and that'll get done. And I think we'll be ready.
Watching the only behind the scenes access we get nowadays is things like Hard Knocks and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You're watching Aaron Rodgers kind of coach up the receivers. How often do you find yourself in moments with the quarterbacks when you guys are either coaching each other up about like, hey, I like it like this, or this is the way I would break off this route or
Mhm.
whatever?
Yeah, so that happens in practice, and that just comes with. I feel like that just comes with reps. Like how a guy's gonna come out of his break or how he's gonna run his route because you've put in the time together. That's a big step, man. The NFL, everything happens so fast. So if you guys aren't on the same page, like that split second, that's the difference.
A lot of things kind of came to an end. The training camp preseason, you got the 53 pretty much finalized. We look back, who had a good camp and all these storylines. What was like some kind of under the radar stories? Like what was like was there like a track of training camp? Was there a song that was going that will remind you of the 2023 Cardinals training camp and preseason?
Like an event?
No,
Not like a song.
Like you guys went 2-1 in the preseason. I know after the first victory, you guys were bumping some music in that locker room. Like, is there anything that's going to be synonymous that you're going to think back? Man, that song reminds me of 2023.
Yeah, it's a song by Future and Quavo. It's called "Turn Your Click Up" or something like that.
Okay.
They played that song after we won, and like it was on like a hype video or something.
Yeah.
And it was crazy.
I thought it was hilarious because you could hear like the walls were vibrating in the press room after David Blough took you guys down the field and scored with 2 seconds left, the 2-point conversion, and like it's bumping. And then JG comes in all like reserved, like next question is like, are we gonna pretend that you guys just weren't like wilding out in the locker room?
No, I like that a lot.
There's a lot of dudes in that press room that don't know what that music is all about.
No. They were kind of like, there were a lot of people that were kind of scared, like, what's going on?
It's all right. It's all right. When we win, everybody wins. So
yeah,
it's all good.
What's the vibe in the locker room right now? Like, how are guys feeling, man?
It's good. Everybody's it's good.
Excited, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Ready to get after it
for sure.
Man, I can't wait.
For sure.
When you look at your group, I mean, the wide receivers. We talked to Dobbs today, and he's like, what's the thing that stands out about your new playmaker? Is speed. I mean,
I knew you was gonna say that.
Speed the burn. Absolutely. I mean, you, Hollywood, Bocelli is going to be, I think, back on the practice squad. He's got a ton of speed. And Michael Wilson's a big guy. I think sneaky fast. I mean, is that the biggest thing that you would define your receiver core as?
I think we could do everything. Honestly, we just got to stay on it every day. I think just with anybody, it's hard to be consistent every single day. And if you can do that, you set yourself apart. And we have a really good group, well coached, and we got guys that want to work, come to work every single day. We just got to stay consistent and stay on it. We could do that.
Go ahead.
Would you say how are you like in the slot? It seems like you and Rondell are those guys for this team.
Yeah, I love it. I love wherever they want to put me. Wherever I can get the ball, wherever I can help the team, special teams, kick return, punt return. Running down on kickoff, however I can get on the field, I'm okay with that.
We can talk about the field all day long. That's what we do. But I want to know a little bit more about you. Like I want people to get to know a little bit more about you. You know what I mean?
Like, want to know
you. Well, right now, like what are you watching on TV right now? Like what's your thing?
So I just started watching Hard Knocks yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of been kind of cool.
Did you watch? So you haven't watched last night's episode?
I'm on the second episode.
Man,
I'm like in the beginning.
Is it? Hey, A-Rod, Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a big fan now.
That's what I was just gonna say. I think Rodgers. I mean, you
what year is
see
this?
and you
Is
read.
this year 20 for him? I seen like a picture. It said something like year 20. I didn't know.
I think
I mean,
That's
when they get the narrator out there in the first episode, and he's like, "Hey, go up and say hi to that guy," just trying to make Lee Shriver try to feel welcome. And then, hey, I'm gonna go sit down at a table. He's telling the guys in the quarterback room, go sit down at a table with some teammates you don't know very well. I mean, I think that's great leadership.
But also, like in this last episode, and I'm not going to ruin it for you guys, but there's another version of Aaron Rodgers that you didn't get to see in the first three that comes out in this one, and you're like,
is it on the field or? Is
it's on the field. It's in practice, and then there's one on the field, and it went viral last night. You guys probably saw the clip. I haven't seen it yet. No, where it's pretty nasty. I don't want to ruin it for him, but the shit talking was at an all-time level, and I was a big fan of it.
Quarterback in the NFL too?
Yeah,
no. He is.
Well, what do you mean in terms of?
I'm just saying, like overall, like if you had to start a team today, is Aaron Rodgers your guy?
No,
it's Mahomes.
Yeah, it'd be Pat Mahomes.
It's tough to get 15 in KC. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I can respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, completely changed my perception of Aaron Rodgers, and like that happens. I feel like the national narrative, like sometimes just goes crazy. Like even like Kyler Murray takes too much flack for things that I don't even think he has. There's no reason he doesn't deserve any of the hate that he gets.
I think that just comes with being great.
Yeah.
And it's hard to dodge that. He's great. He's talented. He works hard. Like he deserves everything that comes his way.
Mm-hmm.
And like people don't like that. And you can't do anything about that but go to work again.
Yeah.
You know
it's just hate. That's it.
So
well, your upbringing through Virginia, born and raised, right, in Virginia.
Well,
okay.
I was born in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
But I moved to Richmond, Virginia when I was 7.
Okay.
So I don't remember much from New York, so I just say I'm from Virginia.
I got you. Yeah. But like your upbringing, what attracted you to football in the first place?
My dad played football growing up. He never made it to the NFL or anything, but I actually have photos of me when I was like maybe 2 years old with a football in my hands. My parents just pushed that, and I ended up loving the game. It just came easy. It came natural, and it's brought me here. So
you have a lot of 5-on-5s or 7-on-7s in the neighborhood, and
absolutely,
and they get rough.
Oh yeah, for sure. Rough. It's on concrete, so like,
bro,
I don't want to get tackled or touched. I think that's probably where I started like learning moves and stuff because I wasn't trying to fall on the concrete.
Yeah, that's what happened. Like when I was in Houston, my cousins, they were like, "Hey, we're going out to this little lot in the neighborhood." And that was the first time I tried to light somebody up.
Yeah.
And I swear I separated my shoulder. I was like, no, I think I'm going to play quarterback.
On the ground?
Bro, I swear. And I put everything I had into him, and he just bounced me off like I was like nothing. I was just like,
you ever seen that movie Invincible?
Yeah.
Like
the outdoor scene where they're in the rain and stuff. That was every day?
Pretty much. Snow, all of that. We was out there.
Were you a one sport guy, or did you play multiple sports?
Man, so I played football and basketball growing up. I never ran track until high school, and I ran for like a little bit, and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't really like to run. I think if you ask most football players, they don't really like to run.
Yeah.
But like we do a lot of running. It's weird. But like I think with track, I was just running. I wasn't trying to score a touchdown, or I didn't like it. And then I played baseball a little bit, and then my dad was like, you gotta pick. It's time for you to pick. So I picked football.
Did you only play football in high school?
I played basketball too.
You played basketball? Yeah. What positions you play in basketball?
I played point guard.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Were you sick with it?
Yeah, I'm pretty solid.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
Right. Did you shooter or facilitator?
I do everything. No, I'm being so serious.
Did you face any big time basketball players in Virginia?
Nah.
I mean, that's ACC hoops territory right there.
Yeah, but nah, Virginia and North Carolina, that whole area there is known for like basketball, like hoopers. But no, I never played anybody like.
You go on the Wake Forest, prestigious university, known for hoops. Probably
for sure. I feel like when I bring up that I went to Wake Forest, they don't know that we had a football team. It's more so basketball, or like because Chris Paul went there, Tim Duncan. So like, I get it. So it's like, I went to Wake Forest, but
I mean, Tim Duncan's kind of a 4-letter word around here because of what he did to the Suns for far too long. But Chris Paul, he helped change the culture again back here with the Suns. Is that your GOAT coming out of Wake, or is it TD?
My GOAT?
Yeah.
Man,
as far as Demon Deeks?
Say myself.
All right.
Oh, all right.
Can I do that?
Yeah. Dude, you could do whatever you want on this
No,
show.
it's been a lot of talent that's come out of there.
Yeah.
Did you ever link up with Chris Paul at all?
Never.
No?
No.
Not on the alumni network?
You want to know what's funny? Chris Paul is actually tall. Like, I know people probably think
Right.
he's short, but like,
He's 6'2".
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So he would look like gigantic.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's
I
true.
think people don't know that because he looks short on TV. It's
Because
like,
he's surrounded by seven
Yeah,
footers.
he's right there with
People don't
DA
realize
right
that.
there,
For sure,
throwing
for
him
sure.
lobs.
Well, hey, before we move on to the next topic, I do want to let everybody know that we have some major news dropping tomorrow that includes my guy right here, Greg Dortch. So tune in to our socials, the PHNX Cardinals and the PHNX Sports Twitter feeds, because tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we'll be dropping a little nugget. And then later on in the day, we'll be dropping the big news of the day, which is going to be phenomenal. We're excited for you guys to take part in that. And as always, you got to share some love. And today you have an opportunity to become a diehard for at a cheaper rate. And when you do that, you can get Greg Dortch's shirt. How about that? So it's a 2-for-1 right there. Cheaper rate, and you get his shirt for free. So hook yourself up, become a diehard today.
Where are we at as far? Are you making goals for this season? You got big time goals for yourself after such a solid year last year?
I do, but I have to. I can't let the world.
You can't
know.
let the world know any of them. Okay.
None.
I always think it's interesting when we're doing our show and we're talking about the wide receiver core, and we talk about Rondell, we talk about yourself, Michael Wilson, Hollywood, just a deep squad. People say like, oh, Rondell and Dortch and stuff, but I can't imagine it's like that. It's not like 1v1. You guys are brothers in that room.
For sure.
Am I right?
For sure. We're in the NFL. Like, this is just a game too.
Yeah.
Like, me and him, we have a relationship outside of football too. Like, so you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, we get it. Yeah, he wants to play. Yeah, I want to play. We're both professionals. This is what we've always wanted to do since we were kids. But like, people definitely make it weird and like, oh, you guys 1v1. Like,
right.
It's none of that.
It's iron sharpens
iron.
His
locker's right next to mine. Like, that's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that's weird.
We were joking. We saw like the number 9 opened up. We were talking jersey numbers. We're like, man, maybe our guy GD should move up. You're 83 is your number.
I think
right?
Dobbs is in 9, right?
Yeah, he took 9.
Yeah. Nah.
Would you ever consider
9
or any other number?
What number do you feel like I would look good in?
I mean, those single digits look nice.
They do, but I mean, I feel like a number is a number. Like, I feel like growing up, I was like, oh, I got to get number 1 or number 2. And then I went to college and I got 89.
Okay.
And I was like, man, what? I was hurt. I was like, 89. Like, come on, bro. And then that just changed my whole perspective on everything.
That was a big, thick number right there. 89, too.
I was number 90, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I think like a big, like blocking tight end with 89. Man,
yeah.
Not just this like shifty, punt returner, all-purpose guy.
But it's like crazy because I just like changed my whole thought process. I wore 89 and I was like, which NFL receivers wore 89?
Mm-hmm.
Steve Smith. It was different guys. And I was like, you know what? I can make 89 work. And that's what I did.
Yeah.
It was dope. Wait, at what point, whether it be high school, college, whenever, did you feel like, man, I could really play at the next level if I really wanted to?
I feel like each level of my playing career, when I was there, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. And then the next level, I was like, okay, I think I'm ready. And it just like kept going.
Was there a move? Was there like a circumstance that you got somebody or you caught a ball in a situation that you were like, man, I feel like I'm ready for that next level?
Not really. You're just saying like just making it to the NFL in general?
Yeah, like, like in basketball terms, there's been guys that like they either had a great game and they scored against like a premier player and they were like, yeah, I think I could do this long term, where they dunked on somebody or whatever, right?
I think for me, I feel like I was born with it. Like, I was born to play football.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I was born with that gift. And it was just up to me to work hard and take advantage of the gift and the opportunities that presented me. And that's how you take advantage of your gifts.
I got you. Okay.
You got 6 new teammates today, 6 waiver claims from the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah.
Man, I got all the info, man. I don't get all this. I just go to practice and I just come home.
You were telling me right before we went live, you actually know one of these dudes coming in the desert.
My brother.
K'Von Wallace.
Man. If y'all knew the story, man, that's crazy. He's going to be my teammate. I think we have 4 guys on our team from like local Richmond, Virginia area. which is crazy.
What's in the water down there? Does that
I have
the
no
James
idea.
River?
They're following me, first of all, because I was there first. They're following me. It's funny, though. Nah, K'Von, he's a really good guy. He's a hard worker. He was with some of the coaches in Philly, so he has a relationship with them. Man, I can't say that's my brother. Like, we went to high school together. You know what I'm saying? Like, we competed every day in high school. He went to Clemson. I went to Wake Forest. We played against each other in college. Like, now we're on like the same team in the NFL. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Have you guys spoken yet?
Yeah, he called me. So I texted him. So he got released yesterday, and I texted him, and I was like, let me know like what team's talking to you, and like God's gonna place you wherever you need to be, bro. Just trust that. And he texted me. It was like maybe the Bears or the Raiders. So I'm like, okay, that's good. Then he calls me this morning right before I go out to practice, like, I'm coming to Arizona. I'm coming to Arizona. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
My coaches called, like everybody was on one call. Like he called everybody. I'm coming to Arizona. I'm coming to Arizona. It was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's an unbelievable just kind of road to the NFL. Two guys playing in the same high school field and now get to play on Sundays together. JG Rollis, they've got to be big fans of him coming over from that defensive group. I think I saw a viral video was going out. It's like, here's a new Arizona Cardinals player, and he was the one that got who's the big tackle? I can't for the Niners.
Trent Williams.
Trent Williams. He got him bounced out of the game in the NFC Championship.
He's a big dude. I'm not gonna lie. It's certain guys in the NFL that are like, you were supposed to play in the NFL. Like they just look crazy. Like I respect it. Like
he just moves people. He's built to move people around.
For sure.
That's wild.
What do you think about this shirt we just released in the PHNX locker? The Greg Dortch t-shirt, the new release out there. You got to get your hands on it. You like this, Greg?
I think it's tough. It looks like I'm hitting the gritty. I'm not gonna lie. It really do.
Man, I didn't even notice that.
That's tough.
That was kind of the pose you gave after a big time first down last season. We were glad to grab that, put it on a t-shirt. You can find it at the PHNX locker. Greg, this is not the last time we're going to hear from you this week. As Saul mentioned, big announcement tomorrow. Make sure you've got those alerts set up on your YouTube. GD, thanks for spending some time with us this afternoon. Saul, thank you. We're going to get Johnny in here, and then we'll have that announcement drop tomorrow with Greg Dortch, Arizona Cardinals. Got to get yourself in right now to the PHNX locker. We got great deals going on. You don't want to miss out on that, including diehard memberships where you can get yourself in and become a diehard at unbelievable price. Save yourself some cash. Go to gophnx.com. Go to phnxlocker.com and get yourself in on all the deals. And if you do become a diehard, you get one free shirt a year, and you can make this Greg Dortch PHNX shirt, this new release, your choice of the year. You can either get a hat, you can get these shirts. You don't want to miss out on becoming a diehard and saving yourself some coin while doing so. You also get exclusive access to our member Discord. There you can, of course, check out all the great work from our Arizona Cardinals beat reporter, Howard Balzer, who's churning out great work on a daily basis. And, of course, all of our talented PHNX writers, Craig Morgan for the Coyotes, Gerald Burgay for the Suns, Jesse Freeman, of course, PHNX D-backs, and we got some great PHNX Sun Devils work coming your way as well. Don't want to miss out on any of that. And the best way to do so is becoming a member, of course, a diehard member of PHNX. That's right. The countdown to kickoff continues. Those diehard memberships go from nearly $80, $79.99 to $60. Now, as Greg Dortch and Saul Bookman exit, we bring in, of course, a man that's on fire.
Hey, cuties.
One of the hottest members in Arizona media as far as his takes go, Mr. Vindication, Johnny Venerable. What's up, my man?
Yes, apologies. I couldn't be there. It's great to see Greg holding it down. It's great to see him on the roster. We know he's going to crush it this year. You guys crushed it in the studio. I love that story on K'Von that you're not going to get anywhere else, by the way. I did not put two and two together that he and Greg and our boy Isaiah Simmons were all hanging out in the ACC together. But I think, K'Von kind of fits the style of this team a little bit more. Fourth rounder, Clemson. I put out a tweet today, which is just, in my opinion, it's batshit crazy, right? And I'd like to rehash that now if we could, because you put it up there. Cardinals have acquired 6 players. They had the most acquisitions on the waiver wire. Super busy. This show told you that was going to happen. Guess what? It did. And so they churned the roster. K'Von Wallace is his last name, is now an Arizona Cardinal. There he is. Played under JG for 2 seasons in Philadelphia. Before that, he was a 4th-round pick in 2020 in Clemson. You know who else played for that defense? Isaiah Simmons. And that year in 2020, Simmons was the 8th overall pick to our precious baby Arizona Cardinals. And now you fast forward 3 years later, Simmons is gone as of the last 2 weeks. Enter Wallace. He's going to play the exact same position Isaiah Simmons was playing as that 3rd safety behind Jalen Thompson and Budda Baker. You literally can't make this up. And oh, by the way, like, don't tell me that Gannon and Ossenfort didn't see this coming, like reading between the tea leaves. I'm not going to say they weren't going to get rid of Simmons regardless.
Yeah.
What a nice coup for JG and company. It's like, oh, plug and play. Every single year, I talked to a source in Philadelphia today, Bo, that Wallace played under Gannon. He got better. He was rough his first year. Gannon took him under his wing 2021, 2022. This is just a beautiful thing.
It is. You'd love to see a plan come together. As Greg Dortch told us, a little insider information. Greg Dortch Rappaport dropping that the Bears and the Raiders were in on K'Von Wallace. Bears had that #1 waiver priority. They decided to pivot and go a different direction, and that becomes Monti Ossenfort's the beneficiary of that. But let's look at that list real quick. As the team, they made the moves official, so they take on Elijah Higgins, the tight end. He was a converted wide receiver to tight end, played in the same receiving core as Michael Wilson at Stanford. Then you've got Keith Ishmael. He's a center, and Tristan Colin playing center. So trying to get some depth. That's the brutal news that John Gaines is going to be on season-ending IR. And then this guy, Al Manning, who I believe is out of Hawaii. Is that right? Yes. I know he came in. He was one of the top 30 visits for the Arizona Cardinals. So there's some familiarity, and he comes from the San Francisco 49ers organization where he spent training camp and preseason. I think that these are some solid moves. And then Starling Thomas is a guy that, of course, you needed to add some cornerback depth. So you get those moves for the Arizona Cardinals today. And then they added, or they said goodbye to, what was it? Daniel Arias, undrafted free agent. Marquise Hayes was probably the most surprising name on this list. Javonte Moffitt, Ben Stilley, the defensive lineman, and then Blake Whiteheart out of Wake Forest, the undrafted free agent. Unfortunately, hopefully, I wouldn't be surprised if those guys, some of them, come back in the practice squad variety.
So Manning specifically from San Francisco was super highly coveted. The Niners wanted to keep him. It's a loaded roster. I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise. He was one of the most prioritized players I've heard within the landscape of the waiver wire. I love stealing a young offensive lineman from San Francisco. It weakens their depth, and they've been known to lose offensive linemen. It strengthens what the Cardinals want to do. This is a young kid that went undrafted, but has a lot of potential. I mean, like, K'Von, I think, is the oldest of this group, and it makes sense, right? There's like Cardinals needed a 3rd safety. There he is. He's 26 years old. Everybody else is super young, affordable, ready to contribute, practice squad guys. And again, like, it's kind of the general thesis of what we've been talking about on this show is they might have cut guys that were more talented than the guys they claimed. And hear me out on this. But what they claimed were cheap assets that they then can mold, right? That they then can develop. These guys may stay on the bottom of the roster or the practice squad for the next 2 or 3 years, or they could ascend to backup or starting roles. I think in K'Von's place, I think they envision him as part of their secondary for this year and beyond. Yeah. So to me, it's like it's not all interchangeable, one and the same. Not everybody's going to come out, and immediately contribute, but you can see them. They're laying the foundation of what they want to have, which is a draft, develop, claim pipeline. Because I tweeted this out today, Bo Brock. Like, Harris Johnson Jr. is the 7th highest paid player on the Cardinals. He's been on the team for 6 months. Think about that for a second. Like, he's the 7th highest paid player, and it's only going to go up with departures after this season. So it's a roster that, yes, might be lacking on talent in some areas, but I like what they did today. I'm encouraged, and I love the idea that you're taking from teams within your conference, your divisions, and weakening them and strengthening you.
Absolutely. Where they felt like they had a kind of a surplus, you were able to kind of take from that and strengthen, and especially coming off of the injury to Gaines, and we'll see what, Dennis Daly, who wasn't out there practicing today,
Yeah.
how much depth you need. There could be some short-term IR guys, as our beat reporter Howard Balzer continues to stress. Look out for those coming potentially pretty soon. But as far as Manning, he's a Glendale native.
Yeah.
Went to Apollo High School. I mean, that's a cool story and then going to Hawaii. I'm sure you said all that, and I just completely.
No, you didn't. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you for inputting that. Here's what I didn't say though. Cardinals are going to have. I would like to see this updated. Maybe I'm sure Howard's going to put this in a piece of GoPHNX.com.
Yeah.
So check it out. Are they going to be one of the youngest teams in the NFL this year? Even with guys like James Conner and Zach Ertz, you dump Colt McCoy, respectfully, who is 37 years old. Joshua Dobbs is under 30. You're moving off of some guys under Steve Keim. All these kids outside of K'Von are in their early 20s.
Yeah.
It's my mindset is get better with young players, improve with young players. It's the antithesis of what Vance Joseph did. They were losing, they were being exposed with guys that didn't have a future here. Yeah. We want to see the crescendo from September, October to November, December, January. I use this as an example all the time, and I think the Cardinals could have a faster rebuild. The Detroit Lions, that first year with Dan Campbell, were atrocious. They were like 0-11. And then they beat the shit out of the Cardinals in December against Cliff Kingsbury, and they only got better. And they bought in, right? And the next year, they win 9 games. They're favored to come out of the NFC North and maybe the NFC this year. So it takes time. But what people, through 310 in the chat, God bless you all, and everybody on Sundays watching this, we don't want to lose with young players. We want to see young players grow and develop. And that was, I think, one of the biggest reasons why they opted to go with Joshua Dobbs, because they believe he can help evaluate a lot of these young guys. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the way to do it, especially when you're a team that isn't ready for prime time, isn't a team that's in the conversation to contend. Why not bet on the youth movement and move forward and the guys that you drafted, develop them, the guys that you brought on that were undrafted, develop those guys. And even with the with Whiteheart and Aeneas getting moved off the active roster, it was you do have 2 first-year players that come into their spot. And I think with the entire draft class, and this is not with John Gaines, but on the active roster, I think you have 10 first-year players. So you're infusing this roster with youth, and that's important because you figure out quickly, like, are these guys that we can build with and move forward with, and that's so important. And that's exactly right. That's something that can certainly kickstart a rebuild, and that's what this fan base is craving, and that's what, when they wanted the full reset, that's what they wanted from the decision makers and the coaching staff.
Jose, you're going to get killed for this. I agree with you. I still think this team's going to win 6-7 games. I said that a couple weeks ago when Colt McCoy was their quarterback temporarily. I feel better about it now. I'm anxious to hear your takeaways because you're on the practice field today. You got to see number 9, Joshua Dobbs, in person.
Pretty limited as far as what I was able to see, because we're back to about 20 minutes out there, and it's mostly stretching and mostly like position group stuff. But yeah, we did see some Josh Dobbs.
Okay, I'm anxious to talk to you about that. Anything else stick out in terms of the waiver claim or the practice squad? Because again, like, I think we all knew, like, the Bichellis of the world were going to be available. Jeff Driscoll is en route, we think, to the practice squad. I do want to say respectfully, let's hold up a glass, pour one out to our boy David Blough. Like, if this is it for David Blough, thanks for making the end of the year entertaining while not winning games and giving us Paris Johnson. Also, thanks for making this preseason fun. Like, David Blough, to me, I've seen a lot of shit quarterback play in this franchise. I don't want to go through the list because it's very large, but Ryan Lindley comes to mind. David Blough was a stalwart for this team over the last 10 plus months. I'm appreciative for what he did. It was watchable football at a very difficult time for this franchise. So thank you, David Blough. We salute you, sir.
Even producer Damon throwing up the salute. Yes, classy, nasty. Everybody giving the flowers to the Magic Man, David Blough, who ended the season starting the last 2 games for the Arizona Cardinals, and then he was in there for some rally from behind wins in the preseason. 2 of them, not 1, but 2 of them.
It was great. That was so great.
Then it's like, thank you for your service. We're going to move forward with Jeff Driscoll, who we didn't get to see in preseason play. But, I mean, it's clear that, Monti Ossenfort kind of has a type, right? As far as quarterbacks go, he likes the size. He likes guys that are like 6'2", 6'3", and Driscoll and Dobbs and Clayton Tune, two on the active roster, one on the practice squad, and Driscoll, as Howard Balzer pointed out today. That's the type of quarterback they want. And then of course you got the exception to that, who's always going to be the exception to that in the NFL is Kyler Murray.
Yeah, short kings stay kings for sure. All right, so I want to talk to you about Dobbs and your takeaways from practice today. But first, I want to remind everybody, college football week 1 is here, and we're here to save you money with our friends at BetMGM. How about a $1,500 first bet offer? What? Of course. Sign up with PHNX with that bonus code PHNX. Soup easy. BetMGM account users, grab your phones. Here's what you want to do. Download the app, first and foremost, smartphone, Android, whatever, or go to betmgm.com. A lot of people ask me about, can I just go to the website? I like to dabble on my computer. Of course you can. BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit, at least grab a little bit of scratch in your wallet digitally. $10 into your BetMGM sportsbook account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. Again, you $1,500 in bonus bets. You into that? I'm sure you are. If your bet does lose, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager has been settled. So again, if you have a tough weekend in college football, BetMGM is going to keep you healthy with these bonus bets. Again, deposit $10 and prosper. And in the meantime, I'm going to give you guys my BetMGM pick of the week. You don't have to wait until Saturday, Bo. I'm sticking with my SEC bias, and pour one out for the Pac-12. It is what it is. So I think Florida is going to upset Utah tomorrow. Plus really 165. BetMGM.
Horizon's not even playing. You're not exactly going out on a limb, but yeah, I like it.
Okay, bro.
Bold.
Okay, bro. I'm sorry. Plus money. What is this? Shane Diefenbach throwing me shit for my bets. Plus 165. Bet it right now with BetMGM. Speaking of Shane, he's going to tell us more about that in the disclaimer.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
Did you see those sweet shades that Greg Dortch had on in studio? Made me miss my Shady Rays. Love my Shady Rays right now. They're unbelievable. Get yourself a pair. Get yourself multiple pairs by taking advantage of the deal of the season by going to shadyrays.com, using that promo code PHNX, and you get 50% off 2 or more pairs of premium polarized sunglasses. Shady Rays has a great deal as far as their insane protection plan on all their eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day 1, they'll send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. They have your back long after your purchase. Don't miss out on it. Save some money on these unbelievable premium polarized shades that over 250,000 people have rated 5 stars. It's unreal. Save some money on some already very affordable Shady Rays. ShadyRays.com using that promo code PHNX.
You love to see that. You also love to see our boy Joshua Dobbs. Yes, he is our boy on this program. Take the practice field. I think this show was the first one to float out. Isaiah Simmons, he left a single digit behind. Let's give it to our boy, Joshua Dobbs, who now reps number 9. Isn't it so fine? Give him a real quarterback number as he takes the baton as QB1, Bo Brock. He met with the media. He was on the practice field. He's looking spry. Your takeaways from the presumed, we know it, quarterback 1, week 1 against the Commanders.
As advertised. I mean, you see him on TikTok and he's very impressive there on social media. And he understands that, that's a way to market himself, and that's a way to connect with fans that, not everybody takes advantage of. And I think he does a great job by that. And, you see that, and then you see him in front of the podium and kind of giving us his story over the last, week or so, as he went from being probably the backup to Deshaun Watson to being traded and having to move his entire life in 24 hours and meeting his new teammates and being thrust right into a quarterback 1 competition. It's pretty unreal. But, you talk to Joshua Dobbs, and it seems like between the ears, on his shoulder, he's got a very, very solid, head on his shoulders. No doubt about it. I mean, this is an aerospace engineer by trade, at least trained in college. And Zach Ertz joked today, he's called him, I don't know, what is he, an astronaut? But he's not far from it. I mean, he's a very impressive dude, very well spoken. And we talked to him right off the bat. He was asked about, his mentality and going into this quarterback competition. Does he feel like he's the starter?
I would say for myself, every time I step in the building, I put starting expectations on myself. So I know the QB situation is going to play out however the coaches see fit. But for me, I come in ready to compete every single day. I push myself, but also, approach the room in that way. And so I'm excited to be a part of it and be a part of the team.
Yeah, you love that. And he also kind of followed up with, if his name is in his numbers called September 10th against the Washington Commanders, very likely it is. He's been kind of doing the dress rehearsal his entire NFL career, and to get that opportunity that he's been preparing for all this time, he's not gonna let that go. He's gonna be ready to go come week 1 against Washington. So that's really fantastic. And the questions about Dobbs, what we knew about him was he had an understanding about Drew Petzing's scheme, because this was, throughout last offseason and into the regular season, he was on the Browns roster through November until Deshaun Watson was activated. So, but he understands it's more than just understanding Drew Petzing's scheme. This is Dobbs on, what else he has to kind of do between now and week 1.
Yeah, I would say to that, obviously there's similar schemes to Cleveland, knowing Drew and Izzy came from there, but every coach has their own nuances and spins that they like to put on the playbook, as well as, combining stuff that has been here and stuff that the players here have done well for a long time. So even though it might be similar terminology, every playbook has its own different spin to it. So especially coming in and at the QB position, whenever you're out there, you have to run the show, right? In and out of the huddle, at the line of scrimmage, communication with all the guys, and so that looks different when different guys are in there. So just getting up to speed as quickly as possible, that's what I've been diving into, not only on the field, but in my free time, and I'm enjoying it.
What producer Damon was just pointing out, how do we feel about that Cardinals lid?
It's bad. I almost tweeted out today that this is great outside of what he's rocking on his head. I mean, first of all, this is what you want. It's a drastic tone of change when you go from that, and I love Josh, to this, and it's just, oh my God, it's a culture shock, right? I like the one that Gannon's been repping throughout training camp. It's much better. But that, all of them look like that. All of the lids for the NFL. This is the gaudy NFL logo. It's like, take a beat. We know it's the NFL. We don't need you to remind
shield.
us.
Here's the shield. It's right in your face. It's one full panel of a hat.
I mean, in all seriousness, these comments, you guys are crushing it, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head. Kyler Wren, you want to root for Dobbs? Absolutely. I like this comment from earlier. Jessica saying a more productive number 9 now, laugh out loud. I don't disagree with that. I think you're going to get some production. I also think, Bo Brock, that he's going to be in an advantageous position because of how little everybody thinks of this team right now and how little people believe in this quarterback room. The expectations for them week 1 could not be lower. I saw something the other day, a different sports book, not our precious BetMGM, that the Cardinals have one of now the lowest over-unders for wins this year in modern NFL history. And even Rap Sheet, who is very positive about everything, quote tweeted it and just said, yikes. I think they're going to use that, right? I think there was very minimal expectations when Joshua Dobbs came in, I don't know, for Malik Willis last year and outplayed him. Does anybody remember that? So to me, it's all this stuff about tanking and historically bad and you can't participate, you can't compete. They see all that and they're going to be playing loose. And I think it's the Cardinals are in an advantageous position, as is Joshua Dobbs, because there is no, in my opinion, respectfully to Clayton Tune, immediate threat. It's going to be him until Kyler Murray comes back. And as Zona says, he's just an easy guy to root for.
He really is. And I think that if the offense and the scheme can put him in a position to be successful. I mean, when you watched him in those 2 games and he was basically going from Cleveland and not seeing the playing field and then being thrown into a brand new system, but starting basically right away, And for him to go and perform like he did, that was impressive. And it's not easy. And it comes down to the play caller putting the quarterback in a position for success. Now, it helps that you have one of the greatest running backs on the planet, Derrick Henry, to get chunk yards on first and second down, and then to continually be in third and manageable. But I think that the Cardinals have an opportunity to do that. Like I'm bullish on this offensive line. I know there's not a ton of depth, but the starting five is impressive. I think Yelda Froholt has had one of the best, OTAs through camp to preseason going into the regular season as anybody on the team. So if you can get some consistency from that offensive line and give him time, and then also open up rush lanes for James Conner, who I think is as fresh as he's been in a long time, you're going to be in some good situations for this offense to just move the ball.
Again, people are going to knock me for this. I know Jonathan Gannon hasn't proven as much as Brian Daboll, but I look at what the Giants were able to do last year. Everybody dismissed them. Like, I think Dobbs and somebody like Daniel Jones, their skill set are very comparable. Jones probably has a little bit of a stronger arm, but like, go back and I think watch what the Giants did last year, scheming him open receivers, letting him run the football a little bit, not making mistakes, not beating themselves. They were in every single game, and they made the postseason last year. Do I think that's going to happen with the Cardinals? Probably not. But I think that when teams are bad, like
it would
historically
be
bad,
it would be tough. Sorry, go ahead.
To be historically bad, I think you have to have inner turmoil that's almost predetermined, like the Cardinals had with Sam Bradford and Josh Rosen and Steve Wilkes. Like, the Cardinals are on a unified front with Dobbs. It just took them a while to get here.
Yeah. You got me?
Yeah. Are you good?
Yeah, I think our internet was a little shaky here, but we're good.
You want me to read some super chats? We get yourself composed?
Absolutely. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Topic 64. Friend of the program, Topic 64, 499. Receivers room, 3 under 6 foot, 2 over 6 foot. We need at least 2 more receivers that are over 6 foot and can separate. Well, one's at Ohio State right now, so we have to be patient. But again, this podcast, we appreciate the super chat. Topic 64 has teased that. I think they're looking. I think that the 3 that are under 6 foot are very special circumstances. Dortch does everything. He plays bigger than his size. Rondell's a second-round pick that's got a lot to prove this year, and Hollywood Brown's essentially on a 1-year deal. We'll see what happens there. But the 2 bigger receivers, is it a coincidence or not, Bo Brock, and you pointed this out, are the 2 guys they brought in this offseason, Zach Pascal and Michael Wilson. So it's like they have a type at quarterback, on offensive line. They want to be big and physical, right? It's very similar. This is the Shanahan-esque offense. Well, what's their skill player look like? I don't know. Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, their offensive line, Trent Williams. Like, the Cardinals are aspiring to be a version of that, hopefully with Kyler Murray. So if a receiver over 6 foot becomes available, because I didn't see one of note be cut this week, I don't anticipate the Cardinals won't hesitate to grab that person.
Yeah, I think that's a position that is this roster is not going to ever be set. I don't think you'll ever see any week where, and of course injuries are inevitable, but where this roster is going to be the same from top to bottom, 1 week into the next week. It's just not going to happen. I mean, Monti is going to be a mad scientist as far as just being on the waiver wire and trying to tweak things as this team navigates a roster that, a lot of people have deemed that's not going to compete. But as it stands right now, Michael Wilson, Zach Pascal, is Topic 64 pointed out, 2 guys, 6'2", and then you've got the other guys 5'7", 5'7", 5'9", and then you've got, big body tight ends. I think you're going to telegraph what you want to try to do. Yeah, absolutely, Aris. I think that's a good point. Elijah Higgins comes in. He's a tight end, but he is converted wide receiver from
700
Stanford.
yards last year.
Yeah, more productive than Michael Wilson in college. But I think that even if you do telegraph that you're going to run and you got those 2 big-bodied wide receivers, that Zach Pascal and Michael Wilson have shown throughout training camp and preseason that these are guys that if you do gear up for the run just because they're on the field and they pass the ball, those guys have the ability not only to get open, but make big plays.
Yeah. And we're just not going to see as much 3 and 4 receiver sets like we did under Cliff Kingsbury. So I think, while I believe they're going to add a 6th receiver, I mean, they're going to average just 2 wideouts at a time, in my opinion. I don't know that definitively. I'm just guessing. They're going to have 2 tight ends a lot out there. They're going to have an H-back that could end up being Trey McBride at times. So That 6 receiver is going to have to play special teams along with our guy Greg Dortch. But I mean, like, Zach Pascal's a great special teamer, but your top 3 receivers, at least on the depth chart in some aspects, do not play special teams. Michael Wilson, Hollywood Brown, Rondell Moore. So those bottom 3 have to. But I mean, isn't it interesting, Bo Brock, today that they picked up a couple offensive linemen and they lost a couple offensive linemen, and Gannon spoke about that. I thought it was really interesting. He's got a calming presence about him, does JG, about the unfortunate news that Jonathan Gaines, who had a nice camp, is on, season-ending, IR, but at the same time, very encouraged about where he came and came out and said, Bo, like, he's going to be a player for them for a long time. It's just not going to be this year.
Yeah, he said he thought he was going to have a role this year, and it's unfortunate, obviously, but John Gaines is a very impressive young guy coming out of UCLA. His versatility is something that this team really liked, and I think they were going to lean on that. And then, unfortunately, with the apparent knee injury, we haven't confirmed. He's just on injured reserve for the rest of the season. I think he's somebody that you're probably not going to see like you saw with Marquise Hayes today, where it's just like one season, you redshirt, you don't get to play because of an injury, and then you're out the door the next, before the start of the regular season. I think we're going to see John Gaines in a Cardinals uniform in a regular season game, probably as early as 2024, once he gets back on his health back on track. So that's good. And then, to see Hayes exit today as one of the roster casualties to make room. I mean, that just, unfortunately, he was a lottery pick late in the draft coming out of Oklahoma, obviously a big school. You thought, okay, this is somebody that maybe Keim got right. And at the end of the day, it was just another, Keim guy that was sent packing. But I think what they're doing is they're going to continue to look for guys that can play the position, protect, be versatile outside of their main 5 to 6, maybe 7 offensive linemen.
Yeah, Jose in the chat, Lacita's gone, Jones gone, Gaines gone, trenches aren't looking depth savvy. And I think that's been the point of this show is, they got 6 linemen, I think, that you can really hang their hat on. And then there's some question marks, right? And they're going to need these guys that they picked up off waivers to catch up and catch up fast. But I think that they can get there. It's an offensive line group too, especially outside of Humphreys that, I know Hernandez missed time last year, that is not, injury prone. I think these guys hopefully can grind this out. The run game is going to be so prevalent. As an offensive lineman, you want to be able to block downhill. And I think it adds to the longevity of this group and the success that they could have. But, I want to talk about the defensive line for a second, because I didn't get yesterday to give this player their flowers. And we talked a lot about Rashad Lawrence. About Leki Fotu, that I was adamant was probably one of their worst defensive linemen, and I'll eat crow on this, to come out
roles.
Right. Like, you think about all these ex-Keim players being jet-setted and cut for this franchise, and the guy that's looked really average under Vance Joseph comes out and has a great training camp. Remember, he was the D-tackle drafted ahead of Rashad Lawrence, despite playing in a smaller school, so to speak. I think that says a lot about his football character and his IQ and being able to overcome that and just to get better. So I'm anxious to see how he does, because he's somebody really that could develop. I mean, could they just get a really nice string of starts from him? And you talk about going into next year, and it's like, okay, this guy's under contract. Let's see what he can do and build off of it. So I wanted to make sure I brought up Leki Fotu because I was impressed that he withstood the cuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. The defensive line. I was talking to Howard Balzer today at practice, and I think they've got 7 guys, right? And I think they make around combined $7 million. There's just no money invested in the front of that defense. And those are guys that are, I think there's maybe one guy that's under contract beyond 2023. That's it. So, these guys are going to be hungry. They're going to be out there trying to make a name for themselves so they can get another contract, whether it's here or elsewhere. And Leki Fotu is one of those guys. Rashard Lawrence didn't make it the year 4 with the Arizona Cardinals. Fotu, he earned the opportunity, and he's going to have a big time opportunity. That defensive front, you can look at Washington, you can look at their skill positions, you can be encouraged by a second-year quarterback and Sam Howell and what you've seen in some meaningless games. And that's a place where the Arizona Cardinals are going to have to really expose, where they don't have necessarily the biggest strength. I mean, it's not Trent Williams anymore. I mean, this is a team that even in the preseason, had a tough time protecting the quarterback. And if they're going to be disruptive, it starts right there in the trenches with Lecky Fotu and a LJ Collier and a Carlos Watkins. But it's usually going to be those two. It's going to be LJ and probably Lecky Fotu to get the start.
Yeah. Listen, anybody can surprise me up front on that defensive line. And I think they'll probably just end up playing, as Nick Rallis said, the hot hand of that group who produces, who fits a better, schematic alignment on any given Sunday. You would assume that what Washington wants to do is they want to be physical. So I think that, at the end of the day, that's a group that, I mean, if they can just shake that colander, right, and find 1 to 2 guys they can carry over into next year, hopefully add some premium positions or premium players in the draft and free agency, that'll be good for them. Because, man, that defensive line for far too long has been average. I want to get back, if we could, to some of your takeaways from Joshua Dobbs, because I know you had a clip on your Twitter that kind of went viral today as it relates to Dobbs and Kyler Murray based on the work ethic. Tell me more about what Dobbs said and then how it includes K1.
Well, let's hear from Dobbs himself.
I have, yeah. So we've been in the QB room and out at practice. It's been good to be able to pick his brain, just being around the guys, as well as been really cool seeing him going on the side and getting his reps in after practice. So it was like one of the first guys I saw. I got here when you get traded. The first day in the city is early morning. You got to do all the logistical stuff. So you're up at like 5:45 a.m. I think it was a Sunday, and so I ended up getting to the facility like 6:30. He was already in here, rehabbing and getting prepared for his day. So it was good to pick his brain then, and he's been around the team. And so, I know we'll continue to build a rapport during my time here, and it's all part of getting to know your teammates.
Well, wait a second. That doesn't sound like the Kyler Murray that the national media paints a picture of.
I didn't hear anything about COD in there. What's the deal now? Is the COD hidden away in the facility, or is Kyler Murray actually a really hard worker on a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. or whatever time?
After being in Minneapolis the day before.
I guess some guys just don't have it. Some guys do. I mean, when I saw that today, I'm like, this won't get any traction with the people that feed that narrative that Kyler Murray doesn't want to work. And it still hasn't. Like that,
No.
that should be all over, because Joshua Dobbs has nothing to gain or lose by talking about when Kyler Murray's at the facility. Like he's about starting right now. Oh, there's K1 rehabbing on a Sunday morning after you just mentioned a visit Minnesota, getting ready to come back as soon as possible after being put on the PUP list. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable. But yeah, at the same time, it's very believable knowing K1.
He's out there in was it Mesa last night? He's at the new launch of the girls flag football high school. And it's just continue. He's on Twitter supporting those girls out there. So there's a bunch of ballers out there, and nobody's going to touch that. It doesn't fit what they've been yelling and screaming about on all those debate shows.
The narrative is what it is until Kyler Murray comes back and shuts them up and proves them wrong, is something that we've said is going to happen this year. A couple different outlets I saw today, Brock, I don't want to say echoing our point from last week because, we don't get the benefit of the doubt all that often. But we did report on this show last Thursday via sources that Kyler Murray was still going to play this year, even though many others told you not. And then, of course, you saw a lot of the local media, national media confirming that today. And whether it's 8 games, 10 games, 12 games, whatever, Kyler Murray is going to have an opportunity.
You need people to get a hit over the head with it. It's unbelievable.
I guess.
Like, you can't take what is Monti Ossenfort? Is he giving you anybody a reason not to believe what he says in press conferences? Like he said from day one he was going to shop the 3rd overall pick. What does he do? He trades the 3rd overall pick. What do they openly discussed DeAndre Hopkins at one point, right? And they took him off they kind of took a kind of a departure from trading him and then ended up releasing him, right? They pivoted to what they felt was in the best interest of the organization. So Monti Ossenfort said without hesitation, once he's healthy, he's going to be out there on the playing field. He's said this. He's maintained this since we talked to him in Indianapolis at the scouting combine multiple times in press conferences and availabilities. And as recent as today, as soon as he's 100% mentally and physically, he'll be out there. but people need to be banged over the head because they've got this idea like they're too smart for the room. The decision makers for the Arizona Cardinals are feeding us a bunch of bullshit for some reason. It's a new regime. It's a new day here in the desert. And for anybody to say like, well, it doesn't make sense. It's bad business if they put Kyler Murray out there and he gets hurt, they're going to be on the hook for $90+ million. It's just like, look, I'm sure that that's true, but at the same time, you're paying a guy a lot of money to play football. Let him play football. And that's what the Arizona Cardinals plan to do.
You can't have your cake and eat it too with the Kyler Murray saga. You can't say, well, he's untradeable,
right?
Even when he's healthy, because no one wants him, his attitude, his work ethic, his scheme under Cliff Kingsbury. But then also say, well, you better not play him because if he goes down, then he's not going to be worth anything. How about you let him play when he's healthy and he can prove to everybody again that he's a franchise quarterback? And you can go and do the offseason with a really good problem to have with 2 top 10 picks potentially, or not, depending on how good the Cardinals are, and Kyler Murray fully healthy, ready to go in year 2 of this offense. It's amazing to me. And you can roll the dice right now with our friends at Game Time. Could you get that hot ticket to Kyler Murray's first game back with our precious Arizona Cardinals? I'm going to tell you, yes, you can. Game Time, $20 first purchase on the Game Time app with promo code PHNX. I'm going to tell you right now, I do a ton of random, sporadic purchasing of tickets, concerts. I'm not a guy who's like mapping out like 6 months in advance.
Right.
So Game Time to me, right. Absolutely. I'm a procrastinator. Game Time to me is like the perfect marriage. If I want to go to a game the same day or the day before, I'm checking Game Time because I know I'm going to get the best tickets at the best price. It's the place Game Time is for last minute ticket deals. And again, it's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. I'm not going to knock others because, we're very humble on this show, but I will say this. I've saved the most money buying tickets secondhand on Game Time. It's not even close. Additional waivers, fees, all that stuff. It doesn't add up here. What does add up is your wallet. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that bonus code PHNX, $20 off your first purchase. And again, could it be week 2 against the Giants? Could it be sometime in October, potentially when Kyler Murray returns? Again, you decide, but we're going to help you with $20 off. Create an account and redeem that bonus code PHNX. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
We do have football in the Valley. That means something as early as tomorrow. Sun Devils taking on Southern Utah. The Kenny Dillingham era kicks off. Cannot wait to see that. Our guys at PHNX Sun Devils are going to get you fired up for that. And they've got, of course, why not gear up for the game with a little Burrito Express? Unbelievable. Of course, Sun Devil supporters over at Burrito Express. They got the best burritos in the Valley, multiple locations, including that Tempe location. They got great community service. They're always supporting ASU athletics and their athletes. Jalen Conyers, Elijah Badger. They're, of course, athletes for Burrito Express. Follow Burrito Express on Twitter at BurritoEXP. They are a chaotic follow, always a fun follow for sure. Our friends over at Burrito Express is the owner. He's awesome. He's fun, especially on game days. He's such a Valley sports fan. He'll fire off like 1,000 takes on an NFL Sunday, or of course on a Sun Devil game day, which is tomorrow. Enjoy some Sun Devil football with Burrito Express. You will not miss out. That you can't go wrong with just a standard bean and cheese burrito. It just sounds so delicious right now.
It's tremendous, as is the green chili sauce. It's the best I've ever had, best there ever will be. Topic 64, thank you so much, $4.99. I echo this. Cardinals front office doing a hell of a job putting this team together. Fantastic job. Yeah, I mean, people are upset about the way they do things that are not educated. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
People who follow this team on a regular basis are super highly intelligent group of PHNX Cardinals faithful here. Understand that you're playing the long game with assets, resources. Are they going to try to put a Band-Aid over a glaring wound that was the lingering effects of Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury and Vance Joseph? No. They're going to say, we're going to strip it down, $80+ million in cap space, 6 picks in the top 75 projected next year in a historic draft, and then a ton of young assets right now to kind of see who's worth keeping around. So I love that. Now, I did see Bo Brock. This was kind of something that, I'd forgotten about. Zach Ertz was activated. He was their lone activatee off of PUP a couple of weeks ago. Garrett Williams, Kyler Murray still hanging around. but there's no guarantee, Bo, that Ertz is ready for week 1. What more can you tell us?
I mean, Zach Ertz kind of laid it out for us. He was asked point blank, are you still eyeing the season opener? And this was his response.
I don't think it's for certain by any means. Still some things I need to go through. Still some things I need to see how I recover and practice consistent days in a row. Obviously, it's not something where it's just, okay, Zach, go play. I got to earn the trust of my teammates, the coaches. I don't expect them to just plug me in there and say, this is the Zach for the past 10 years. He's going to be the same in year 11. I look forward to proving myself each and every day. And whether that's game 1, game 3, whenever I'm out there, I expect to be a difference maker. And so that decision, I have a part to play in it, but it's also a lot of people coming together and making the decision as a group.
You know, as routine as these injuries and the rehabs have become, it's still a process, and it's one that you really have to trust process and listen to your body, especially at the age of Zach Ertz, or if you're 26 like Kyler Murray, or if you're Garrett Williams and you're coming to the league at 22 and you're coming off an ACL, is it feels like, okay, this is the timeline we're projecting, but it's going to come down to day in and day out, you know, how you're feeling one day and then how you feel the next day. And then if you can string together, as Zach Ertz said, you know, a couple of practices in a row, and it's not linear. Like, you can be going and you feel like you're headed the right direction, and then you have a bad day and you know, one step forward and 2 steps back. It's probably more at Zach's point in his rehab, you know, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But, you know, he's being realistic about it. And I think, you know, with all the players that remain kind of question marks about their availability, and that's Ertz, who's on the active roster, and BJ Ujulari, and then Garrett Williams and Kyler Murray, who are on injury lists, you know, we have to be realistic that it's going to be a process. And even when Kyler gets, you know, activated from PUP, it's going to be a process then. Like, like JG said the other day, it's like he's got his health plan, and then he's got his football plan. And right now we're focused on the health plan. And then as soon as that's taken care of, then we're going to focus on the football stuff. And that's exactly what's going on with Zach Ertz. He's got multiple checkpoints that he's got to pass in order to get down out there on, you know, week 1, or like he said, could be week 1, 2, or 3. And he doesn't know as of right now. It's just not something you can forecast 100% with what, less than 2 weeks to go before the opener.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so difficult. I hate to bring it back to Kyler Murray, but I think it's relevant that Ertz has been able to practice for a little bit now, and he's no guarantee for week 1. I think that means caution, maybe expectations, like we've mentioned recently. If Kyler Murray's activated right after he can come off of PUP, how many days can he practice and be prepared for that game, that coming game? It's going to take a while. And for Zach Ertz, especially a guy over 30 years old with a lower body injury, I mean, he wants to be smart. He's got a career after football, super bright, high football intelligence, high intelligence in general, high character, somebody in the same realm as Colt McCoy. So Cardinals feel like they can use number 86 this year, but I also think like this gives you a chance to really evaluate number 85 and Trey McBride. Let Trey McBride, because I like the Cardinals' supplemental talent with Swaim and company at tight end. Let Trey McBride see, okay, I can go out there and be tight end 1 until Zach Ertz can come back, or we can be co-tight end 1s when he returns. But this was a guy who was a top 2 pick for a reason in terms of the draft. He was a 2nd-round pick, the best tight end in the draft in 2022. Like, he ought to be able to go out there and produce. If he gets the kind of targets I think he will from Joshua Dobbs in this offense, specifically with Drew Petzing, there's no reason the Cardinals should not have a drop-off at tight end. Like, what Ertz is referring to, the Zach Ertz of old, like, low-key, Ertz was a 2nd-round pick once upon a time. That's what you're hoping you get one day out of Trey McBride. Now, those are lofty expectations, Bo, but if we're sitting here, let's say in like week 3 or 4, and we're begging for Zach Ertz to come back if he hasn't yet and be able to play, I think that's more of an indictment, not on Ertz, but for Trey McBride.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, you know, when Dobbs was talking today and I asked him about the playmakers and he mentioned the speed, and we talked to Greg Dortch about that earlier, he also mentioned Zach Ertz. And Zach Ertz, even when he's clearly in his mind and probably, you know, the staff's mind, not even 100% and knocking the rust off from rehab and the injury, he's still standing out there and becoming finding open spots in the defense and being a safety valve, even in practice 1 for Joshua Dobbs. So he still, you know, makes himself a viable option in this offense, even though he's not nearly close to 100%. That's encouraging, regardless of if it's McBride's day to kind of shine and take advantage of the opportunity. And then, I see Higgins in there, somebody added to the active roster today, a 6th-round pick out of Stanford, converted wide receiver. I don't know if that's realistic to say, hey, he's going to be in there week 1. I think it's going to be more like the Trey McBride, Jeff Swaim show if Zach Ertz is ready to go. And maybe they might even hopefully get Whiteheart on the practice squad. We'll see what happens after his release today. He could be an option to be elevated on game days.
Yeah, it's a group. I don't want to say that's interchangeable, but outside of the top 2 guys, which are supremely gifted pass catchers in Ertz and McBride, you really feel like that 3rd, 4th tight end. Can they come in? Can they hold the line of scrimmage? Can they be a complementary player as an H-back? The Cardinals are going to use as a 6th lineman, and for lack of a better term, a tackle or a guard to come in here and play heavy football. Like it's not always going to be a guarantee that 6th lineman's a tight end, which right. It was predetermined under Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, you see what this team did under Drew Petzing during the preseason. They've got additional tackles out there. They're running boots with their quarterback. Everything is going to be predicated off of the run. And if the tight end can support that, great. But you get Kelvin Beachum out there alongside DJ Humphries or Paris Johnson Jr. I like that look for the Cardinals. I think that's a win for them. This is a win for us. Kenny Wilson, $10 super chat. Why do people want Caleb so bad? He's a Kyler 2.0. If we go for a QB, I'd rather try Drake May be a bust. No, Drake May. I listen, to each their own, personal preference, Kenny. Kyler Murray is shown to be a franchise quarterback when he's healthy. Caleb Williams, I mean, if he's a bigger version of Kyler, which is what people compare him to, I think I would sign up for that. But again, like Drake May can help himself this year, and to each their own. You want a quarterback that doesn't end up on injured reserve. So I think the Cardinals are going to have a good problem to have. They're not going to be in quarterback purgatory, Bo. Come next May, they're going to have clarity one way or the other.
They'll have options. I mean, they've got a guy that's done it at the NFL level, has shown that he can play at an MVP caliber clip and hopefully, stay healthy enough to do that over, a full season. And that's Kyler Murray. And he's locked in as much as any quarterback can be. Or you could pivot and you could go to one of the, in this talented quarterback class that is headlined by Caleb Williams and Drake May. And, if you look at the Cardinals quarterbacks with Kyler Murray on the pup, Drake May kind of fits that mold, right? Big, good arm, a little bit mobile, but he's got to do what Caleb Williams has to do, even though Williams is coming off a Heisman campaign and, is the consensus #1 pick already here in August, is he's got to prove it again. Like just as much as Caleb Williams has to dominate the Pac-12, Drake May has to go out there and dominate the ACC again. And, I want to see it. I absolutely would love to see it and have multiple options, but we've seen North Carolina quarterbacks, one starting in week 1 against the Arizona Cardinals, light the world on fire and be legit and then kind of fall from grace. So Drake May's got to prove it for a second consecutive season, just like Caleb Williams has to prove it still after having a solid 2023 debut last week.
Of those 3 quarterbacks, the only one that's proven it at the NFL level is Kyler Murray. I mean, he was an MVP candidate for 9 weeks before he went down in 2021 with Cliff Kingsbury. So, do we want to talk about the burner phone situation?
Well,
Brock?
For sure.
Okay. So news came out today as it relates to Steve Keim, Michael Bidwell and company. We're going to talk about that in a second. But first, I want to remind everybody, how about this? We've got PHNX ranks going on right now. And we want to debut a card here. Are we allowed to do this, Producer Damon, on the show? How about this? Top 25 all-time athletes in the history of Arizona sports. Aeneas Williams, friend of the program, by the way, joined us our first year of inception. One of my favorite all-time players. I wore the number 35 in high school because of this man. Years in Arizona. He was here for 9 years. Low-key ended Steve Young's career. He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer. Just the consummate pro professional, embodies everything that you want a Cardinal to be, and that's why he's our number 13, Bo Brock, on the top 25 all-time athletes here in Arizona.
Yeah, Aeneas, one of the greatest to ever wear the uniform, no doubt about it. Look at that. Look at those numbers. 4-time All-Pro, 6-time NFL Pro Bowler. I was bummed when he went to St. Louis and he was wearing the Rams uniform and he joined greatest show on turf on the defensive side of the football, and they couldn't get the job done and get him a Lombardi trophy. Are we going to also?
No, they did win a Super Bowl.
Did he?
Yes, he was part of that team. Greatest show on turf.
Yeah, but was he the one that he wasn't obviously on the one that beat the Titans?
Yes, I think he was. He was on that team, wasn't he? Or did they get second?
So. He was there when they lost the Patriots.
Okay, yeah. My bad. My fault.
Because they were wearing the older uniforms.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And then, yeah, it was unfortunately, I don't think he ever hoisted the Lombardi. Are we debuting the 12th overall too or no? Okay, let's do it. Let's take a look at this. Jake the Snake Plummer doing it at ASU and with the Arizona Cardinals. He was here from 93 to 2002, nearly a decade uniform. In the desert. Yeah, why don't they bring back these throwbacks?
That is
Rose Bowl appearance,
so fire.
Heartbreaker. Yeah, first Arizona Cardinals playoff win since moving to the desert. That was unreal. And third most pass yards for the Cards and Arizona State. Huge number.
It's poetic. He went and won the first playoff game in franchise history here in Arizona, and then, of course, was teammates of our guy Frank Sanders. So yeah, we would love to get Jake the Snake on the show one day. I know people ask us that all the time. If you would like to come on, he has an open invitation. Thank you so much, producer Damon. Sean behind the scenes putting those graphics together, doing a fabulous job. We're unveiling the top 10 very soon. There's some names that have been omitted yet on purpose because assuming they are in the top 10. So be sure to keep an eye out for it on all of our social platforms as PHNX ranks. I'm going to rank this story a big because I don't want to talk about it, but I guess we have to. The burner phone situation that will not die. Steve Wilkes testified today, which was public, Bo Brock. Cardinals made him use a burner phone. Kyle Odegaard, friend of the program, shared some screenshots. People are up in arms about it. We've talked about it this offseason. Any more insight that you'd like to share on this situation or just your general opinion of how this all ends? Because frankly, I think as we're closing in on 2023, I'm over it.
I mean, it's tough. I mean, with all the goodwill that's being created with Monti Ossenfort, new front office, and the new coaching staff, the harsh reality is Steve Keim was in this organization for 2 decades.
Yeah.
And, he didn't just start being kind of a liability to this organization at the end. I mean, I think you're going to see his fingerprints on this organization, far beyond him unceremoniously resigning in December. And more stories are going to come out about it. And it's really unfortunate because I think the people that have been put in place as the new decision makers and brain trust, they're going to take some flack on it that they don't deserve. They're going to have to pay for the sins of their predecessors. And, unfortunately, the team owner, Michael Bidwell, some really unfortunate things are reported in this article, and what they won't get rid of as far as the testimony from Steve Wilkes, and I don't think they should. Absolutely should not. It's ridiculous. I can't believe the power that they gave to Steve Keim for the decade he was the general manager of this team. He was buddies with the owner, and he had pretty much full reign of this organization and the skeleton key to every single door. And it was not based on, success. He had a good run with Bruce Arians, but it's really, really unfortunate. And they hitched their wagon to the wrong guy. And the fact that they made Steve Wilkes in his first year, his only opportunity at this point as a head coach, kind of take a burner phone and right out of the gates really kind of put himself in a vulnerable position. Because what are you going to do? You're going to say no to the GM that hired you? Like, no, I'm not going to take shots from you or any tips from you as you're supposed to be self-imposed team suspension. It's like I had a math test and I'm cheating off of one of the Kardashians. Like that's what you're doing with Steve Keim as far as trying to get tips from him while he's on it. Was his 5-week self-imposed suspension with a $200,000 fine. It's one of the most ludicrous things I've seen.
It's ridiculous. It makes me appreciate Ossenfort that much more. It makes me appreciate that he took this job and took this challenge on. And I will give Bidwell credit that he eventually made the decision to part ways with Steve Keim and go outside the organization because it would have been damn easy. And as much as I love A-Dub and Quentin Harris, like to hire internally would have been a massive mistake. Ossenfort has come in here and has begun to gut this franchise for the better. I know a lot of people are like, same old Cardinals. Listen, Jed York fucked up the Jim Harbaugh situation. That franchise was on the brink of implosion with
Right.
Chip Kelly and company. He got John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan in there, and they're a contender every single year, despite shaky quarterback play. Seen the same thing, Bo Brock, as you outlined in Cincinnati. You think their ownership's great quarterback, good GM, good head coach. Like Michael Bidwill may be a deterrent at times, but if Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon are continued to be empowered, which they are, to be the football people, to run the football operations and bring in their own people like Dave Sears, this franchise can get back to winning. So I think I see a lot of that today of Michael Bidwill's now. They went to a Super Bowl. I mean, he got the stadium built. Is he perfect? Absolutely not. Is he a top 5 owner in the NFL? Of course not. But I also think, and people do not connect the dots here, Michael Bidwill consistently hosts Super Bowls in this city for Roger Goodell. You think Roger Goodell is going to come at Michael Bidwill and say, give me your first-round picks this year? Of course not. We had Mike Florio on this program, who a lot of people don't like. He is controversial. He was adamant, we can cut the clip, that the Cardinals are not going to lose a premium draft pick for this. This was a self-imposed in-house situation. This was not the Miami Dolphins tampering with Brady while he's on another team and trying to get Sean Payton. The Cardinals were inept in-house, right? This is them screwing around and then a self-imposed ban. At most, in my opinion, based on what I've heard, it will be a mid-round pick. The Cardinals are not going to lose 2 top 10 picks or 1 top 10 pick because Steve Keim, who's no longer with the franchise, was dicking around. It's embarrassing. Michael Bidwill, I'm sure, is embarrassed. Roger Goodell, I'm sure, will address it at some point. They're going to conduct an investigation, but he's not going to have to sell the team, and they're not going to lose a top draft pick.
I mean, we've seen even locally with the Phoenix Suns that you can overcome poor ownership.
Of course.
That's really saying it nice. I mean, what Robert Sarver did, the 10 years of futility, and they were still able to kind of build a winner in the last couple of years. Sarver was the owner, and I know that Ishbia is really getting things right as far as that organization goes, but they were on the right track, at least basketball wise. There's no reason to think that with these moves and the new leadership in Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon that have their hands all over this organization in the best way possible, that they can't right the ship on their own. I mean, still, it's in spite of, right? But that's the Arizona Cardinals can absolutely do it. The Clippers did it with Donald Sterling. They were in the playoffs.
And again, I don't want to say very little has been proven about Michael Bidwill. I think respectfully, he's a better owner than his late father. And I know a lot of people would say that's not asking a lot. He did hire Bruce Arians. He hired Ken Wisenhunt, got Kurt Warner to come here and win football games. I love this comment.
Kind of felt like accidents, didn't they?
Yeah. Okay. Chase in the chat. Just stay out of Monty's way. I think that's a beautiful sentiment. There was a reason why he was having Cliff and Vance come to his office every Monday to watch film, that being Michael Bidwill, is he didn't trust them.
Right.
I would say Monti Ossenfort, the way he's operated this offseason, has bought himself immense trust. Plus, Michael Bidwill knows this. Gannon and Ossenfort, but especially Gannon, were highly coveted football people, and they would have had opportunities if Arizona didn't offer them. Whereas Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim and Vance Joseph did not have a bunch of opportunities, and he probably thought he could manipulate that to his benefit.
Yeah.
Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort likely had to be courted just as much as vice versa. They were being interviewed. So I think part of the equation, and I don't know this, I don't have this sourced, is, hey, we got to fix this. We can't have players complaining about daycare and the facility and the weight room and the food and conditioning program and paying for shit. And that's why they're taking an axe to all that. That's why they're remaking all of it. So it's not going to be done overnight, but to sit here and suggest that the Cardinals can never win again because of Michael Bidwill and this burner phone situation, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Even in Major League Baseball, the Baltimore Orioles were a laughingstock for years. They stripped that thing down. And then the ownership, despite, their dysfunction, they bet on the general manager. They put somebody in the operations department to build that team. And now they're one of the best teams in baseball after being a laughingstock for all those years. Like, there's a process to this. And you got to, to steal from the 76ers a long time ago, you got to trust the process.
I mean, this franchise didn't trade picks for Deshaun Watson. This franchise, right? This is, and a lot of people want to compare Dan Snyder and Michael Bidwell, and that's fine. You can do your comparisons, and we're not going to carry water for Michael Bidwell on this show. But I think Michael Bidwell's best role, and Bo, you've said it time and time again, is be the showman, right? Host events, host a tremendous game day experience for this fine fan base, and let the football people handle football. And if you hire and empower the right people, winning just might follow. You'll win every single day you're subscribed to this podcast, the PHNX Cardinals podcast. I want to thank everybody. We've got 310 people in this chat right now. Bo and I, the PHNX Cardinals team, producer Emma, producer Damon, Saul Bookman and company, our new guy BG. We are coming off our best month ever as a podcast. This team that's projected to win 0 games during the preseason here. August is the biggest month in the history of this podcast. So I want to thank all of you for helping us make that happen. It's a joy and a privilege to be able to go live for you every day.
Absolutely. I echo that. It's been an unreal run. We cannot wait for the actual games to start. We'll start to really see what the Jonathan Gannon era, Monti Ossenfort era is all about. If any indications have been this past offseason, I think that the Arizona Cardinals, the direction they're going is the right direction for the first time in a long time. And we're just honored to be a part of this community. And it's driven by each and every one of you that listens, subscribes to this podcast, leaves a review, leaves a rating, and those who are subscribed and watch every day on YouTube. It's unreal.
You guys are the best. For producer Damon, Bo Brock, Saul Bookman, Greg Dortch. Big announcement coming tomorrow. Keep it posted here on PHNX Sports on YouTube. Ring that bell for all notifications. Keep it locked into PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. Again, major announcement coming to this fine program and PHNX, the PHNX family tomorrow. I'm Johnny Venerable. Like and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow.